Hey Tommy from the Run Testers. I'm here in Newhaven for the Newhaven 10k today. I did want to do an intro at the start. It's way too windy. It's like 45 miles per hour winds today, so I couldn't find anywhere that you'd be able to hear me. I've been testing out the New Balance SC Elite V4 today, so I'm going to go home now and get in the warm and do the video there as usual. Right, see you in a bit. So I'm back now from the Newhaven 10k. It was a tough day for racing. If you ever raced on the south coast, you would probably know that more often than not, the weather generally has a massive impact on the race itself. So today it was really windy. It was over 40-kilometre winds. They weren't too bad because it wasn't a headwind or a tailwind really. It was just a crosswind the whole way. Apart from one bit, there was about 1 kilometre where there was a little bit of benefit from the wind. But most of that crosswind was just annoying for the whole course of the 10k. So I maintained my PB-ish pace. So that's about 3-minute 40 kilometers for some of it, but most of it I really dropped down a little bit to about 4 minutes or just under 4-minute kilometers because of that crosswind, because it's just buffeting your whole way and it's quite hard to sort of maintain a pace. The race itself starts in Newhaven, which is a little town on an estuary off the sea on the south coast, and it goes through a bit of a park and then some roads, but most of it, about 5k of it, maybe a bit more, is on the seafront in Seaford. And it's not cordoned off, so there are people walking on it, which is not a major problem because it's pretty quiet today because of the weather. I imagine on a sunny day that might be a bit harder. But it's a fairly nice course when you get to the seafront. I'd say the road sections earlier on aren't great, but it's a really cheap race to do. I think it's like £16 or something like that. The organisation is fine. The marshals are absolutely perfect. You start at this pub and you pick up your kit and everything like that, and then you walk down to the start of the race. I think there's about 200-300 people doing it, and I came in 9th with a time of 39 minutes 20. I think the results aren't out yet. My PB at the moment is 37.33, but that was on the most perfect conditions on the flattest course possible. So I was pretty happy with my time today. Definitely couldn't have gone any faster based on the wind, and I'm probably not as fit as I was when I did my PB, but hopefully I will be again soon. So it's a nice race to do if you're looking for a really cheap, cheerful little event on the seafront. It's not as large scale as a lot of the races we have on the south coast, like the Brighton 10Ks and things like that, but it's definitely a nice one to do if you're looking for a 10k to kick off the year. I've got Boston Marathon coming up soon, so I'm trying to get in a few little races between now and Boston Marathon just to keep my legs ticking over and see how fast I'm getting or if I'm improving in any way. So it's a good one for that because it's cheap and it's really easy to get to as well if you live on the south coast. So yeah, well worth a look if you're looking for a coastal race that is a little low profile in comparison to some of the other ones. But all in all, I had a pretty good day out apart from the wind. And I'm pretty pleased with my time, so hopefully I can build on that pretty quickly now and get back down to that PB time that I'm trying to get to at the moment. So big day for racing because I tested out the New Balance SC Elite V4, which isn't out at the point of me putting together this video. The SC Elite V3 is a shoe that I would probably not have put into my top list of carbon plate shoes last year. It was fine. It definitely was comfortable. It felt a little bit more like a daily trainer based on the midsole foam. It had a few issues with the upper. So all in all, it was not a shoe I picked up very much, and I never used that shoe if I was really going to go out for a PB. I'd always go for a Vaporfly or an Alphafly or a Saucony Endorphin Pro 3. It was a shoe that I'd sort of saved for tempo running and faster sessions and things like that. But it's quite a durable shoe. I've still still got it, and occasionally take it out if I'm doing some marathon training runs and things like that, because it is quite a long-lasting shoe. The SC Elite V4 I took out today. It's actually the second time I've used it. So I used it for a tempo run the other day and really liked it. It wasn't. I was running at about 4-minute 40 kilometers in that tempo run, and it just felt really good in this shoe. And I think that's the sweet spot for this shoe. When I took it out today, it felt really good actually. I didn't have any issues with it. I think it's a very similar shoe to the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3 in the way that it is very subtle. It's got a nice, comfortable midsole foam. You don't really notice it on the foot, and it just helps you run a nice, consistent pace without any issues really. It doesn't really have a lot of bounce to it. It's not the softest foam. It's quite soft. It's definitely softer than the New Balance SC Elite V3. But I didn't feel like it was compressing and giving me a lot of energy back. It just felt comfortable and an enjoyable ride. So I definitely, over the course of that 10k, I think if it was better conditions, I think I would have got very close to my PB. And these shoes felt absolutely fine for that. I didn't feel like I desperately want to have my Alphaflys on or anything like that. So I think it's definitely a fast shoe and a shoe that works well for me. As a big obsessee of the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, I generally look for shoes that have a natural feel, but also combine a bit of that super shoe technology as well, so a little bit of bounce, a bit of energy return. And I think it's getting close to what the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3 delivers. So yeah, it was absolutely solid on that run. It was wet conditions today. We were running on the seafront. It was very, very windy, and it really held up quite well on the tight turns and things that we had during that race. So I think the grip on the outsole is really good. Didn't have any issues with that at all. I haven't ripped off the outsole, which if you're a viewer of the channel, you'll know that I tend to rip off the outsole of most of my super shoes. But this is looking pretty good so far. Not any major wear or tear on it in comparison to some of the other shoes that I've got. So overall, I'm actually quite impressed with this so far. It's definitely a big improvement on the SC Elite V3. There's a first run going up, or should be up by now, where I talk about this shoe a little bit more. I think the thing I would say about it is that it is the new midsole foam in it is definitely makes a big change to the feel of the SC Elite V3. It's not quite there when you compare it with things like the Alphafly Zoom X and the Nike Vaporfly 3 or the previous versions, but it's getting there. It's definitely a shoe that feels more like those super shoes as opposed to the previous one, which just didn't. It just didn't have any of those bouncy energy return sort of qualities that you get from a lot of super shoes. But this new midsole foam, this new material that's in there, it really does make a big difference. And I think it is a solid shoe. I really enjoyed running in it over that 10k. I still think I would prefer to run it in the Alphafly 3 today, or the Alphafly 1. I haven't tested the 2, but this isn't far off now. I think this is a shoe that I will actually be picking up for races. I definitely think it's a shoe that really hits its stride when you are running at a consistent pace. So I think it might be better at half marathons from that race that I just did. But it's definitely a solid option as a super shoe now, and definitely the sort of shoe that is probably more accessible to a lot of people. If you haven't tried a super shoe before and you're thinking, right, I'm going to go and buy the Alphafly, but all you ever ran in before is maybe the Ghost or something like that, that's going to be a big change for you, and you might not like the aggressive feel of that. You might not like how unstable that shoe feels, especially when you're turning corners and things like that. Whereas this shoe feels a lot more accessible, like the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3. So looking forward to doing quite a few more miles in this as I train for Boston Marathon. Not sure if I'm going to use it for Boston Marathon yet. It's more like that I'll use the Alphafly 3, but it's early days, so we'll keep using this. But I'm looking forward to doing a lot more of the training runs in it for Boston and seeing how it compares, because I think now it is a definite contender for a top tier super shoe. From those 2 runs I've done in it, I don't think it's up there yet, but it's still time, and we'll see what that foam feels like over the next few runs. Okay, that's it from me on my Newhaven 10k race test of the New Balance SC Elite V4. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the little bell and all those things that make us smile, and check the channel out for loads of videos we've got coming up at the moment on the latest shoes coming out in 2024. All right, catch you next time.